The Pittsburgh Steelers sign a familiar face to the practice squad and more injuries. Let's do another roster update. Take it away. Here we go. G'day, guys. Welcome back to Steelers Nation Australia. Still feeling bad. Oh no, it sucks with the Browns. Look, it does suck. Losing sucks, but also winning's really fun too. It's all part of the game. At some stage, though, you got to try and move on. But now, all we're talking about is Kenny Pickett, Matt Canada, Mike Tomlin, the same old things every single week. I get it. It sucks, but you move on. So let's talk about something different today. Let's talk about the roster update, talk about some players, and I'm going to go through some of the players that are still on the 53 and how it looks different to at the start of the season, stuff like that. The Steelers now have 53 men on the roster, and they have 15 men on the practice squad. But in some good news, the Steelers have signed Trenton Thompson to the active roster. They signed Myles Jack to the practice squad and Eric Rowe to the practice squad as well, and placed Elijah Riley on the reserved injured list. So there's some good news for Trenton Thompson. I thought he played pretty well. We know that Keanu Neal, this is where it gets crazy. Keanu Neal, because he had a rib injury, he's now moved to the IR for at least 4 weeks. So Trenton Thompson's moved up into safety. Then Elijah Riley was playing safety as well. He's now been injured and he's moved back to the IR. He'll be there for 4 weeks. So Steelers are losing middle linebackers and they're losing safeties, right? So it's good news for Trenton Thompson. At the same time, though, it's not good news for Riley. I thought he was playing good football. He'll be on that for the next 4 weeks. The Steelers have a lot of problems, man, with injuries right now. However, there was reports that Myles Jack would be signed off the couch and he'd come out of retirement. So he's come out of retirement, and welcome back Myles Jack to the team. He's now going to the practice squad. So if the Steelers go on a bit of a run here in the next 7 games and they win 5 games, 6 games, have a chance for the playoffs, Myles Jack could be a key component because he knows the system. He's been there before. He worked with us last year. We end up cutting him and Spillane, and then he retired. But because he knows the system, knows the defense, he could be quite key to the defense as well and actually help out the defense. I didn't see too much from Walker. I'm not saying that Walker's a bad guy. I'm just saying last time I watched the game was only once for the very first time. I didn't see too much from Walker, right? So it's a good thing having more depth there with Myles Jack. And also they signed Eric Rowe as safety. Now, here's an interesting thing. Eric Rowe, it says here they signed to the practice squad. When I go to the positions and when I go to the actual roster online, it says that Eric Rowe is a part of the Steelers 53. Now, he could either be on the 53 or it could be on the practice squad. On the Steelers roster, on Steelers.com, it says Eric Rowe is safety. He's part of the 53. So take that with a grain of salt, right? However, on the practice squad, we have 15 players, including Luke Barco, Tariq Carpenter. You have Jalen Elliott, who's another safety. Braden Fajoko, he's back there at nose tackle. Des Fitzpatrick, he's a receiver, right? Myles Jack, who just got signed. Kyron Johnson as well, linebacker. You have a lot of guys like that, okay? So that's an interesting part. Another thing I want to bring up, though, is the Steelers have had a lot of injuries this season. You go through the list, it's quite incredible. You have Cole Holcomb as a linebacker. He's out for the season on IR. Wish him all the best. Quan Alexander, he went down. Linebacker, IR. Keanu Neal, IR. Safety, Riley, IR. It's crazy. Corey Trice, he was for the start of the year. And, of course, along the season, we've had Cameron Hayward being out. We've had Minka Fitzpatrick out, right? I'm probably missing a few other blokes, but there's been a lot of players that have been on IR. So also going through this list that is on the roster, right? I want to go through a few positions like Patrick Peterson, James Pierre, corners now, Joey Porter Jr., Darius Rush, Sullivan, and Levi Wallace. They're our corners. So Steelers more or less go with Porter, Peterson on the field, and they feed in Levi Wallace. But we saw spurts of James Pierre out there too. Like, this team at the moment is just all over the shop. It's not the same 53 we started with Peterson and Levi Wallace on one side, or Minka out there too. We hope to see Minka back very shortly to play that safety position because we need him back there. But when you go through the roster, man, there are names in here you wouldn't have thought would even be on the team. Like Trenton Thompson, he's played one game, we're ending up 17. He's in there, right? You got Keanu Benton playing more of a role now at the nose tackle or the defensive tackle right in the middle next to the fellas on the other side. Montrevious Adam, he's been injured. Armand Watts, I thought he played some good snaps yesterday or the day before, right? We saw Nate Herbig coming a few times at the guard position. There's been players jumping around all over the shop. It's just been crazy. Roberts has played good football there too. They've now got Michael Walker. I didn't see too much from him from the linebacker position, but maybe I need to go watch again, right? So there's a lot of guys on this team that you thought, well, they wouldn't have made the team. And this is how football goes. Injuries happen, all these kind of things happen, and you just can't blame one player. Everyone's blaming one player right now. Kenny Pickett is the reason that we suck, we're terrible, we're 6-4, right? He's also the reason that we are 6-4 because he's got some game-winning drives and fourth quarter drives too. I still believe in Pickett. I don't think they should move on from him. You got Kenny Pickett, Rudolph, and Trubisky. Who should start of those three? I'm still a believer of Pickett. I know it's not good right now, but anything can change every single week. And all we can hope is that he can get better every week and try and see the field. But I'm not going to be totally wearing black and gold goggles. The guy's playing pretty terrible. It's not fun to watch, but I still believe he can turn it around. Now, also in the running back department, Najee Harris is there, and Jalen Warren. They could be. I'm not too sure, but there could be a chance. I wouldn't be surprised if they start Jalen Warren against the Bengals. This is the one time I think they might do it because he had such a good game against the Browns that they might start Jalen Warren. I'm not saying you give him all the carries, but they might start him there, and it could be that 1A, 1B. Najee has to do better, 1,000%, but it also comes down to Matt Canada, the offense, play calling, all that kind of stuff, and the offensive line needs to do better. So you might see that. Otherwise, it's going to be Najee 1A and Joel 1B. I'm fine with that. Get back to run the rock and we're good to go. Goodwin Iwabuke is still there, but he never gets a hat. McFarland came back to the roster, but you never see him in third down situations. You just don't see him play into the game. It's like Matt Canada hasn't got any idea how to use McFarland. You don't see him. You never saw him once. From my memory, I never saw him once on the field versus the Browns. You got to get that guy the football too. He's pretty speedy, change of pace, right? So Minka hopefully come back soon. Myles Killebrew is the captain. Pat Frymouth, we got a tight ends. I'm going down the list like last time. Pat Frymouth is a tight end, and Darnell Rodney Williams is the team's guy. This team right now, no matter how you call it, Steelers are a good 6-4, an average 6-4, a bad 6-4, a terrible 6-4. They don't use tight ends. It doesn't happen. So Frymouth not being used, Darnell not being used, Connor Hayward sometimes, right? Calvin Austin, another guy on the roster, you just don't see him you don't see him get schemed open or passed to, or that could be Kenny's fault. It could be anyone's fault, right? So many playmakers on this team, they just don't get the ball to, which is Calvin Austin. That is even George Pickens and some points too. Robinson, I thought, had a good 2 catches, but this team isn't clicking. They can't move the ball effectively. They should be able to run it and run well. And then when they start doing that, they run away from that. They run the ball really great, and they run away and say, you know what, we're going to go pass to no one. So it's on Kenny, it's on Canada, it's on Tomlin, it's on everyone. But they've got playmakers, man. They've got playmakers like Calvin Austin, George Pickens, and they're not getting them the ball. And also tight ends too. You need to get tight ends of football somehow, some way. Anyways, guys, that's kind of it for today. The roster updates. I might do a live later, depending on how we feel. So Steelers have signed Trenton Thompson to the active roster. They've signed Myles Jack and Eric Rowe to the practice squad, I'm fairly sure. And they've placed Elijah Riley back on the reserved injured list. So no matter how you see it, guys, looking around the Steelers roster, there's more problems than just Kenny Pickett, right? That might be the title of my show. I don't know. There's more problems than Kenny Pickett, but also there's more positives too than just Kenny Pickett, right? There's positives from watching Jalen Warren play football. There's positives with watching Myles Boykin, I talk about being the gunner, or even Chris Boswell. There's positives watching middle linebacker play or TJ Watt on the outside. It's fun to watch those guys. When Minka gets back, this team should hopefully start to click on all cylinders, but they're doing a pretty good job on defense. Just the last drive, they couldn't get off the field, and next minute they lost 13-10. The world isn't over. Steeler Nation reacts like the world's on fire and the asteroids coming from the earth and going crazy. It's not over, right? But it's just, I don't know. It's kind of frustrating because it's like 1 week where we're happy, we're good, living life, 6-3. Next minute, oh, there's no chance we can win the playoffs. But if we go and beat the Bengals, there's a chance they can go on a bit of a run. All right, guys, I'll see you later.